What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Max Marquee Matchup. We are here for Championship Sunday. It was always going to lead to this in the AFC. Don't we know it? The Kansas City Chiefs are hosting their seventh straight AFC Championship game, affectionately called the Arrowhead Invitational. The Buffalo Bills, a familiar foe, will be coming in to challenge them for the right to go to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. I'm looking forward to talking about this game. We have two great quarterbacks, two incredibly well-coached teams, two teams that feel like this is their time really to accomplish some history as far as that is concerned, two teams that are hungry for this moment, two teams that feel well-balanced. And there's a lot to get in as far as the matchups. And this is going to be a little bit of a different show in this sense. A, because of the magnitude, but B, because I feel like it's so great to get into the more intricate details as far as this matchup is concerned. So we're going to start with some big picture stuff. But first and foremost, I want to start up by bringing in somebody that we've obviously had on the pod a few times, somebody that's our requisite Bills representative as well. We're bringing back Ben from the Mafia Members Pod. Ben, like I said, he was always going to be us. Welcome in, welcome back, man. How you feeling? We're going into Championship Sunday, man.
Never a doubt, man. The game was never in doubt.
Never a doubt. Absolutely. It was always going to be us too, man.
Yeah. No, man, it was a first, like we had wanted. It was a fun game to watch. So, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. Luckily, we came out on the right side of the scoreboard. So, yeah, it's been I've been nervous ever since. So I feel like we're at the point in the season now where your nerves don't get a break because you're nervous during the game, and then as soon as the game was over, I'm like, damn, that means we go to KC next weekend. Like it was almost instantly. So you're already on edge for the next game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You can right back to it immediately, and your mind just is like, all right, well, now the next challenge is here. We had to wait a little bit to figure out which one the matchup was, and I knew it was going to be a difficult one no matter which one of you guys came out of that one. Obviously, you guys played, for lack of a better term, really a classic game in the divisional round versus the Ravens. Came down to that last 2-point conversion tip that Mark Andrews was not able to haul in. You guys traded blows as far as that was concerned. You guys jumped out to that 21-10 lead and then was able to stave off the comeback from the Ravens and ultimately earn your way to the AFC Championship game. We had an auspicious start, versus the Texans, but we're able to control the game, really be able to get out of there with the win as well to host the AFC Championship game this year. So, look, we've done this plenty of times, and by we, I mean Bills and the Chiefs, with the regular season or the postseason. Obviously, this will be the fourth matchup in the postseason between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And you really have to start here with the quarterbacks, and we will get into, hopefully, dang near every 53-man person on here. But we're going to talk specifically about the quarterbacks just to see from the storyline perspective. So, obviously, this is massive for the Chiefs trying to break a barrier as the team that will, has coming off of back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the first team to get back to the Super Bowl after coming back off of Super Bowl champions, as the previous two teams that were able to get to this championship Sunday were not able to get to the Super Bowl. So we would be the first team to do so. Patrick Mahomes, obviously a big part of that and what that can mean for his quarterback legacy against his good friend, Josh Allen. And these guys have both traded bars, whether it's on the golf course, been teammates on the golf course, and then obviously gone up against each other a multitude of times in their short careers, starting both in 2018 when obviously Josh Allen was a rookie and Patrick Mahomes was in his second year taking over as a Chiefs starter. So I wanted you to talk about obviously what this means for Josh Allen, his ability to get over this hump in this case, being able to take out Patrick Mahomes, get to the Super Bowl, and really from a Bills Mafia perspective, getting to the Super Bowl for the first time in 20 years with the opportunity to get that first Lombardi trophy. Talk about this moment, what walking back into Arrowhead is going to feel like, given the fact that obviously the first AFC Championship game did not go you guys' way, the history that's happened since then on the road and then also in this stadium as well. What does this moment mean for Josh Allen and Bills Mafia as a team and really a fan base too?
Yeah, man, it's massive. Everyone always says like, oh, can they get over the hump? Can they get over the hump? This is like this is Mount Everest. This is not just a hump, This is like we're trying to take down a dynasty, like there's not many teams that have been able to, in the history of the game, that have been able to do what the Chiefs are doing. This is not just some small hump that we're trying to get past. This is massive, and it's massive for the team, for the fan base, for everybody. So like, if we go into Arrowhead and, we lose a game this weekend, I think like organizationally we start seeing some changes being made. So it's not just, wanting to get to a Super Bowl, but I think like, there's an opportunity or a chance that McDermott feels like he's coaching for his life or for his job. And, there's some free agents or potential free agents that feel like they're playing for a job this weekend as well. When it comes to Allen, for sure, this is the biggest game of his career. It's every player ever who's ever played the game wants to get to the Super Bowl. And, you get sometimes where you get, like a Dan Marino type guy who was able to get there, but never actually able to win it. And, you kind of don't, are you going to be the Peyton Manning who eventually breaks through and wins the whole thing? Or are you going to be, someone else who wasn't so fortunate? So this is kind of the fork in the road kind of thing. And, if he does pull it off this weekend, then that kind of breathes life back into this rivalry. Cause like right now it kind of feels like this season feels a little bit different, but the past seasons, it's like we didn't have that juice, that umph, that belief in ourselves, because we were going up against this Mount Everest of a task. So I think it's everything, man. I think it's super important for the mental state of everybody. I think it's important for the mental state of the franchise itself, and finally giving us a chance to feel like we belong, and that we're justified in believing in our guys and stuff like that. I think it's massive.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think it's interesting from this perspective that there's a little bit of a parallel universe that we're looking at now in the 2020s. Really, now that we've transitioned into them, and from the 90s, from that perspective, where in the 90s, you guys were the team that was getting to the Super Bowls, that it was winning the AFC championship games, and us bringing over Joe Montana, specifically in that 93 game, was just like, okay, we have the opportunity maybe to get over that hump and be the team that breaks the Bills streak of being able to get back to the Super Bowl. And in some respects, I think that a lot of people were maybe rooting for Joe Montana and the Chiefs to win that game as a neutral observer, because they were tired of seeing the Bills in the Super Bowl. And now we're getting the exact opposite. People are tired of seeing the Chiefs getting to the Super Bowl. They're ready for something new. They're ready for Josh Allen to get over that hump. And you specifically say that as far as Mount Everest of climbing that mountain and getting over that. I think that applies to both teams in this perspective of the Chiefs have this opportunity to three-peat, to accomplish this that is extremely, unique as far as history, which has never been done before. It's one thing that I think that ultimately puts the pressure more so on the Chiefs. And I know this may be a little bit of a hot take from a Chiefs perspective, or maybe from a Bills fan's perspective, but there's only probably going to be one opportunity to three-peat in your history. Josh Allen and the Bills feel like a team that's just always going to be around. Like, it feels like they're going to be here. They're going to go through different iterations. I think that some people wrote you off to start the year, and I was like, look, guys, this is a really good team. They've got a really good coach. They've got guys on both sides of the ball that know how to get the job done, and they got a great quarterback. They're probably not going anywhere. They're probably going to keep winning a lot of games, and ultimately you guys have proven that. But it feels like this is not necessarily going to be a last chance for Josh Allen to get over that hump, but this may be the only chance that Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team do have a chance to go it in three-peat. And I think that is history for us on our side, but I think that also comes with a level of pressure as well. Both teams are going into this game with a lot to lose and a lot to gain, and that's really what Championship Sunday is about. And when guys add to their legacy and are able to have great moments created as well from that perspective. Anything else you want to add?
100%. I was going to say, 100%. Like, the pressure is the same. It's different pressures, of course, because you don't want to. You guys are obviously trying to three-peat. I feel like we've kind of gotten, like you said, we've gotten the support of the nation, if you will. I know I'm Canadian, but I'll still throw Canada in there too. But I feel like it's kind of been Bills and Bills Mafia has been the AFC team, and Washington has been the NFC team. That's kind of who everyone is cheering for. If those outcomes are realistic or not, I don't know. But I think, I think also likewise from Josh Allen's perspective, this is a big game for Patrick Mahomes, because this gives him a chance to say nobody else has ever done this. What I was able to accomplish, So it vaults him up into, you're now having the one or two greatest of all time quarterback conversations versus a different conversation, because he can go into a room with Tom Brady and say, yeah, but you never did this. So I think it's massive. I think there's pressure on him, but it's a different form of pressure because he's been able to do it. Whereas the jury is still kind of out on Josh Allen, and if the Bills can get it done in the biggest games. And I think they're dedicated and really trying this year to prove that narrative wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Different type of pressures, to say the least. And still extremely high ones when you get to this point in the season, which you've gone through all of those games. You've gone through training camp and mini camp, put all of that work in. You've gone through rounds of the playoffs and felt like it has all been leading up to this moment to try and get to that final game in the Super Bowl. That is all important as well. And you talk to players and they're like, yeah, championship weekend is even more pressure than the Super Bowl, it feels like, because you're just that one last step away from getting to that biggest moment as well. And so that adds the intensity up when you got two great teams, two great quarterbacks as well. But there's more to talk about as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, and specifically getting to the matchup. We're going to talk about the Chiefs offense versus the Bills defense. We're going to do it a little bit differently, though. We're going to run down as far as matchup by matchup, because I feel like this specific game does really bear it out from that aspect. And obviously I sent it over to you, so we'll talk about it, Ben. Place I want to start is the the Chiefs wide receivers versus the Bills cornerbacks. Obviously, this has to do a little bit with the Bills, kind of DBs and their issues as far as that's concerned. Right now, currently, we'll see if Benford comes back. He is currently in concussion protocol. Benford quietly had a really good cornerback season as far as that was concerned. Obviously, Teron Johnson's been really good in the nickel for you guys on a consistent basis. Rasul Douglas is the guy that's usually been opposite as far as Benford is concerned. The Chiefs wide receivers have been in flux. Obviously, Hollywood Brown out for the majority of the season. Rasheed Rice went down early. Hollywood Brown has now come back and really, I think, added a dynamic to our offense. Xavier Worthy has continued to grow throughout the last half of the season. DeAndre Hopkins adding that veteran presence as well. So as far as the cornerbacks are concerned, I do expect Benford to play. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
I always assume these guys are going to be able to come back for this important of a game, at least give it a go. But concussion's obviously weird, but we'll see. I do expect him to play from that aspect. Where is your level of adjusting to these Chiefs wide receivers, given the fact that Hollywood Brown did not play in that first game as well? How do you feel about matching up with these guys as far as that's concerned?
I mean, I feel like we match up pretty well. I feel like there's a thing for Bills fans. This will kind of be common throughout the whole position by position matchup. But we've really built our team for this moment. Like we don't have. We'll talk about it in a little bit there, but we don't have the big bruising linebackers. We have smaller, quicker guys to kind of try and counteract your speed. So, a guy like Xavier Worthy, yeah, he's going to present us problems for sure. But we got speed kind of all out there, and the style of defense that we play, we ran a lot of man against Baltimore because of their style of play. They were going to be a run first team, and so we just loaded the box and did man. We're not going to do that, I don't think, against you guys this weekend, because we would get burned. Our guys are we have team speed. We don't have the individual speed to cover an Xavier Worthy one-on-one. He will be faster than your corner. So I think the style of play, individual, like corner on wide receiver, I think you guys have the advantage. But as a system, I think we can do some things that'll, in our cover twos and in our coverages that'll help kind of limit the dangers of your wide receivers.
Yeah, and I think a big piece of that as well, specifically as it pertains to what you guys normally do to Travis Kelce, which is keep 4 eyes on him at all times, really in the middle of the field as well. And specifically, as you speak about that zone coverage looks, we then have to try and translate into an advantage for us. If you're going to pay that extra attention in the middle of the field, we have to be able to run some in breakers, kind of at the second level to try and create some of that space as you guys keep the cap on our kind of speedsters, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, be able to use Juju or DeAndre Hopkins in the intermediate areas to be able to create some of those things as well. But I like your point as far as that's concerned, being able to not necessarily match up one-on-one, but being able to have that team system be able to try and, limit as far as the Chiefs passing attack is concerned as well. So the next one is kind of looking at the run game from this aspect. You guys do not like to use those 3 linebackers. You guys like to stick in the nickel from that perspective, which, again, really good nickel corner. I completely understand why you want to keep them on the field as well. Chiefs run game has struggled since we moved Joe Thuney out to left tackle, have not had as much success. We found a little bit more using Kareem Hunt than Isaiah Pacheco specifically versus the Texans as well. How do you feel about you guys? And even though you're undersized front, but still have the ability to really take the fight because of the ability, or I should say the way and style that the front plays for you guys, obviously led by Ed Oliver, Espinoza, and Russo. Those guys play with their hair on fire. Talk to me a little bit how you feel about, being able to defend our run game, specifically out of that nickel and some of the heavy personnel sets with multiple tight ends we present.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of one of the things that, we're feeling good about because, we just came off a game where we shut down Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the backfield. So the issue will be because they present like it's running, like they're running the football. And so it's a little bit easier to know that the run is coming. So I think where we might get into trouble is if you guys do, like the delayed handoffs, or if you're in a passing formation, but then it's a run, or even a Mahomes. We all know Mahomes with 2 minutes left in the game is going to run for 20 yards when it's on a 3rd and 12. So it's going to be a look like that is going to kind of catch us off guard. But I think overall we're playing, especially in the run game, with a ton of confidence just because of how Ed Oliver was able to get off the ball and kind of disrupt things against Baltimore last weekend. And, they were the number 1 running team in the NFL, I think, besides maybe Philly. But I think our run defense, really stepped up when we needed them to. So I think it's just about recognizing when you guys are actually running versus, being able to see what your formations are and us being able to get the correct read off it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, honestly, we obviously use the short passing game as an extension of the run game, and that includes obviously the screen game from that perspective. And that's all about, if you're going to sit in those zones, being able to try and create those, opportunities to get yards after the catch as well, in addition to obviously running the ball on a consistent basis. But to your point, your linebackers built a little bit more for speed than necessarily power. We have to be able to climb to the second level. And if we don't, then there's going to be opportunities for the Bills to get us behind the sticks. And I think we'll get into this as a theme throughout the entirety of this. Ball control, both these offenses want to hold on to it and make sure, obviously, protect it, but make sure they're driving down the field in methodical nature. So obviously, big piece of that is being able to run the ball on a consistent basis. That'll be a key for your offense. It's got to be a key for ours too. That being said, of course, and this is really my major concern going into this game, is your defensive line versus my offensive line, because we've seen a little bit of an issue as far as being able to block, specifically on the left side of the line. Mike Caliendo gave up some of those pressures as well versus the Houston Texans. Your edges aren't as good as the Houston Texans, but they're still good. AJ Espinoza and Greg Rousseau can really present some opportunities to get after the passer as well. I think you guys did a good job in the first matchup using Matt Milano as kind of a delayed spy and be able to have him just mirror Patrick Mahomes. And obviously we saw that versus Lamar Jackson as well, be very effective to keep him contained within the pocket while still being able to affect him. A big piece of that is Ed Oliver and the mismatches he creates. He's a guy that you're going to want to slide the extra attention to. And if he wants to get those, one-on-ones with Mike Caliendo, we're going to have to send Creed Humphrey that way. That means Trey Smith have a really good day in pass protection. He hasn't always been able to do so, and Ed Oliver has gotten him a few times. So it's going to be very key. Whoever is on an island between the two of them, they have to match up very well. How do you feel as far as your defensive line versus our offensive line?
For me, our defense, we had two major issues. One was depth that's at the safety position and a legitimate pass rush threat. Our defensive line, when they're going, they're good, but we've seen lots of times where they're just not getting enough pressure. I think in this game we have the advantage. I think you guys, obviously, with some injuries, and I know you guys had to slide Tooney out to play tackle instead of. So you guys are a little bit out of sorts, I'd say, on the offensive line. I mean, you're still. I think you guys are still have three of the best offensive linemen in Tooney, even though he's in the wrong spot, and Creed Humphrey as well is one of them. So I to be honest, I think this one is kind of a push. We're an okay defensive front. If we're rolling like we did against Baltimore, I think we'll be fine. But I just hope that we're able to get, we're able to see a little bit more out of Von Miller. He's kind of a guy that we've been, kind of waiting to see if he's going to make a big play, and he came up with the fumble recovery last weekend. So hopefully, maybe that gets some juices flowing for him, and he's feeling good about himself. And Greg Rousseau, like you said, he's been really good for us all year. So I think we kind of have to treat Mahomes kind of the same way as we treated Lamar last weekend, where don't rush out past him, and kind of keep your lane, rush lane integrity, and those kinds of things. And but overall, I like the matchup of our defensive line versus your offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I think push is a good way to put it. I don't think that there's a distinct advantage really in the run or pass game. I don't think we're going to go out there and be able to maul you guys, especially the way that you guys were able to respond versus the Baltimore Ravens. But we do have to have the ability to have a consistent run game. I think we can give Mahomes time, but it's not necessarily about time. It's about if we can take advantage of things, as far as the back end is concerned. Having Hollywood Brown would be a key piece of that. These guys got to get open versus zone on a consistent basis. If not, then it's going to be difficult as well. The wide receivers, in my opinion, just have to have a much better day as well. So I'll just kind of end it from this perspective. So I want to say, one guy as far as you Bills defense that you're excited to see that you think can make a difference, and then one guy you're concerned about. And I'll say, from our side, the Chiefs offense, one guy that I think it can make a difference that's not going to be talked about is Noah Gray. He was quiet as far as the game versus the Texans. Again, I think that we're going to try and get in those heavy personnel sets, especially running against your nickel defense and trying to get ourselves as far as the success rate and just stay ahead of the sticks on a consistent basis. And if that is the case, then Noah Gray is going to have some opportunities in the pass game eventually as the game goes on. And so I think that that's one guy that I'm excited to maybe get the ball from that perspective. And one guy I'm concerned about, I have to be concerned about this guy because, he's proven that it has a little bit of an issue, is Mike Caliendo. And if there are opportunities that you guys create for some one-on-one matchups that put him in a difficult spot that have to, block one-on-one, I don't know if he's going to hold up. That's just a reality situation. And we've seen in the past when you start getting to Mahomes, it affects him a little bit. So we have to have the ability to be solid as far as that's concerned. If he plays a good game, I feel good about the rest of the line from that perspective, because I don't think your edges are as good as the Houston Texans, even if you guys are waiting for Von Miller. And obviously Rousseau has been good for you guys and still have Epinesa as well. If we're able to be solid at that left guard position, then I feel good about attacking your defense. Obviously, we know Cole Bishop is going to be taking over for Taylor Rapp in this game. I think even we can get some explosives on him or DeMar Hamlin, but we have to be able to manipulate the defense against your zone coverage, as you pointed out, to be able to earn those opportunities as well. I think that starts with the run game, certainly. So give me one guy you're excited for as far as your defense and one guy you're maybe a little bit more concerned about.
One guy I'm excited to watch is Teron Johnson, and I guess / Terrell Bernard, because we know, we've seen each other so many times now that it feels like we kind of know what you guys are going to do, and it's going to be a lot of scramble drill. Is Kelsey open? Scramble drill. Is Noah Gray open? So I think I saw a clip today from the Bills practice, and they were practicing exactly that. I think they call it the plaster drill, where it's a guy, you just have to try and guard a guy while he's going all over the place, because the quarterbacks are so good or Mahomes is so good at extending the play and keeping the play alive. You have to cover for a lot longer than you normally do. So I'm excited to see how we do against that. I think Teron Johnson will be really good at doing that, and I think I'm excited to see what he can do on Sunday. And then, and you mentioned it. The player I'm concerned about is Cole Bishop. This is a really tough spot for a rookie to come in and start a game. It would have been nice if he was able to, maybe start in week 18 and, get a couple games as much as he played kind of the last bit of the season there. It would have been nice to have him be a full focal point of our defense and kind of get used to the ins and outs of it. But he's obviously going to be a concern just with the way that Andy Reid can, design plays. That he's going to design something that'll put pressure on a rookie to make the right decision, and he's going to most likely be caught out of position at least once or twice. And so it's all about just being able to help him and help him recognize it and get him in the right spots. So I'd be concerned about Cole Bishop for sure. I have all the faith in the world for him. I love him. I love him as a draft pick, and I think he's going to be great. But I'm a little bit concerned for this matchup in particular, especially.
Yeah, like that's completely understandable. This is a rookie you're throwing into the fire to see what ends up happening in this matchup. And it's a difficult thing as far as Andy Reid, what the scheme presents, and obviously Patrick Mahomes and all the weapons that come with it as far as that's concerned. So we'll see what happens as far as the Chiefs offense versus the Bills defense. And I don't think that the offensive performance that you had last week, even though that some of that, it helped out as far as the special teams as well. And I think there's some advantages we have on special teams, but we have to be able to move the ball better, just simply put, because I know what the Bills can bring as far as the offensive firepower is concerned. We have to be able to keep the ball, take care of the ball, and put the ball in the end zone on a more consistent basis than we did versus the Houston Texans as well if we want to win this game. So moving on here to the Bills offense versus the Chiefs defense, and we'll kind of take it on from the same standpoint as far as being able to break it down matchup by matchup. So the one thing that really stood out to me specifically when I was going back and looking at kind of the first matchup and then also what you guys have done throughout the playoffs, the usage of Josh Allen and Ty Johnson, specifically in the backfield on kind of short yardage, which is 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. And it's not just sneaks. It's kind of the ability to kind of spread out the defense, try and get a nice box count that is in favor of you guys because of Josh Allen's legs and the advantage that presents. Then him being able to operate with Ty Johnson. And it feels like he really trusts Ty Johnson in those specific moments too. Having the ability to use those guys and be able to convert from that aspect. Talk a little bit about that specific part of the game and how you guys put people in conflict in those short yardage positions because of what Josh Allen presents with his legs and those types of looks where you guys spread the defenses out and attack.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've heard lots of people talking about it. The Bills doing the 4-by-1 formation, which really, it makes it tough on a defense to, know where the primary look is or what play is even coming. So you see lots of times where we're in that formation, or even sometimes we're in the I don't even know what to call it, but it's like a pistol setup almost. But you say Ty Johnson is like 5 yards beside Allen, and it's a quick pass out, and it's kind of just a quick play to gain a couple yards. I think it makes it really easy on an offense when you have a Josh Allen who, at the end of the day, we can just do a QB sneak right up the middle for 3 yards, and that kind of keeps the defense, that kind of keeps the defense guessing. They're like, well, they should be doing this. Is a play that works for them 90% of the time. They should be doing this. So we can be able to catch some teams kind of off guard, if you will, with spreading the ball out on some of these short yardage plays where you expect kind of everything to be right up the middle and just kind of a bullnose play. We can kind of take advantage of the defense expecting us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's it. That's a conflict that you guys can put guys in, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Ty Johnson specifically. It could be Ray Davis
Yeah.
or James Cook too. But using that short motion to get some advantages on the defense, especially when you present those 4-by-1 looks, and having a defense be disciplined enough to sort that out. And I believe in my defense. Sometimes they lack a little bit of the sideline to sideline speed because Nick Bolton does have some limitations from that standpoint. Occasionally, Justin Reed does as well, but the intelligence that this team usually plays with on the defense side of the ball and the way they play that on a string, I think is incredibly important in a matchup like this as well, specifically with the games that you guys can present as well. So that being said, I want to get into the Bills run game. We've seen you guys use all manners of personnel sets, 21 personnel, using Gilliam out there as well, putting the 6 offensive linemen on the field, which weirdly, in our game specifically, you guys didn't necessarily have a lot of run game success, but you guys did have that really long pass to Dawson Knox because it got you into the matchup that you liked as well. Obviously, heavy personnels. You guys have 2 really good tight ends, Knox and Kincaid, that you guys like to use as well. But that run game led by James Cook did not have a great day versus us the first time. Talk about how you want to see a little bit of a better performance on the ground from that Bills offense versus Chiefs defense this time around.
Yeah, I think similar to the Baltimore game last week. It's really going to come down to our performance and how well we're able to run the ball. Because like I said, similar to Baltimore, the best way to stop Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is to keep them on the bench while you're chewing up clock and just kind of running the ball down the field and just kind of keeping possession and not letting their weapons get out on the field. So it's going to be very important for James Cook to have a big day. Our run game in particular, I think Josh Allen is going to be running the ball a lot. So yeah, I do prefer us doing the heavy set with the bringing in the 6th offensive lineman. And we played Denver and Baltimore in this postseason, both really good defenses, and I think we have 360 some rushing yards total so far in the postseason. So we're doing all right running the ball, and I think we just need to keep that up. And one thing you see a lot of that I think is different. I haven't watched much of the other teams doing it. Or I haven't seen much of the other teams doing it, but we pull the tackle as well. So lots of times you'll see Dion Dawkins come pull, and we already have the 6th offensive lineman to that side. So we're getting big bodies in the second level and able to run the ball that way. And I think it's been really effective, and I think it's going to continue to be effective, and it's going to have to be if we want to win this weekend.
Yeah, look, and actually, I think I can go ahead and pull this up right here. This was one run specifically, as you talk about kind of where you guys did have success as far as the first matchup is concerned. And again, this is going to end up being Ty Johnson here on the run. But when you're able to spread us out, kind of put those 3, wide receivers on the field, even if it's not necessarily the heavy looks, you guys can still have some success. We're going to match a little bit with a 3-down lineman personnel set, and then Leo Chanel kind of as the 4th hybrid guy. But ultimately, like you said, pull the right tackle, who in this case is the backup. Obviously, Spencer Brown is going to be back in this game, who's incredibly physical for you guys in the run game and really good in the pass game too. Pull the right tackle in the center, be able to create those second level climbs from those guys and be able to get up there and create a successful run to Ty Johnson. We'll see it from the opposite angle. But those are the different looks that you guys can provide from a run game. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be out of those heavy personnel sets. It can be when you spread us out and be able to get into those favorable looks. And again, we're a team that does prefer to go into the nickel. We will be happy to match with base and get Leo Chanel out there and defend the run well, which I think we did in the first matchup. But I expect Joe Brady to try and spread us out and try and attack us from the run game out of the nickel as well when they have those opportunities, because maybe he likes those matchups a little bit more from that perspective too. So that's something to be looking at as far as the run game. The next thing that we're going to get to as far as the tight ends are concerned that I mentioned, Knox and Kincaid. Both guys have some mismatches as far as that's concerned. We've seen them have success versus Shamari Connor or Leo Chanel as well, really working the middle of the field. So talk to me a little bit about the emphasis as far as these guys, and we'll get into the wide receivers for you guys as well, but do you feel like these guys have to be the driving force as far as the passing game, even more so than the wide receivers, for what you want to attack and be able to possess the ball and move it down the field on a consistent basis?
I'll say no. I don't. I think our tight ends are going to be more important, and I think that's why we'll see a lot of Dawson Knox in the game, because we'll be using tight ends mainly for blocking, for run blocking. I mean, obviously we'll get Dawson Knox. It feels like, to me, watching, it feels like every once in a while, like every game, there'll be one moment where you need a third down conversion, and it's Dawson Knox, and everyone's expecting it to be a Kincaid. I feel kind of the same watching you guys, where it's like, okay, where's Travis Kelce? But meanwhile, we're throwing it to Noah Gray for a touchdown. So I kind of feel that will happen once or twice in the game, but I think they're going to be far more important and effective for us in the run game.
Yeah, I can get where you're getting at from that standpoint. And to your point, Knox is a little bit of that better blocker, and I think that it's not only just the run game, but I think that there are going to be aspects of the pass protection that they're going to be asked to help out in as well. We know how Spags likes to dial up those blitzes as well. Being able to keep it tight into chip and make sure you're properly protected from that standpoint is going to be a massive aspect of it. So that being said, second to last matchup as far as this side of the ball is concerned, talking about the Bills wide receivers versus the Chiefs cornerbacks. First matchup, we saw Amari Cooper be able to attack against Najee Johnson on a consistent basis as well. That was a Chiefs cornerback room that did not have Jalen Watson. He's coming back as far as that's concerned. The question I have is, obviously your offense has not necessarily been the pass heaviest, because you guys have been very comfortable running the ball, being very specific and picking your spots from that perspective. In a true drop back setting, though, if you're in those types of situations, which of these wide receivers do you really have the biggest level of confidence in to step up outside of Khalil Shakir? Because we've seen how, he's been able to really be consistent from that standpoint. Which one of these guys on the outside do you feel most confident in? Is it Samuel? Is it Cooper? Is it Hollins? Is it Keon?
I'd say it's Amari Cooper. He's kind of he's the veteran in the room, so you can kind of look to him to be ready for the situation first and foremost. But he's also a guy who, he can beat a man coverage. We've seen Keon Coleman and Mac Hollins kind of both struggle to get separation. Their routes kind of aren't as clean as an Amari Cooper. And we've seen the connection between Allen and Cooper in moments where the game is, it feels like it's a big moment in the game. We've seen that connection work. So from the wide receivers perspective, I think that it'd be Amari Cooper. But one thing that I think we have a lot of faith in and a lot of confidence in is Keon Coleman's ability on the contested catch and the kind of the fade route in the end zone, in the red zone, a red zone target to Keon Coleman. We have lots of confidence in that, and so I think if we are in those goal to goal situations, we'll see Keon Coleman get targeted in those situations.
Yeah, I completely understand it as well. I mean, that's one of the things we get in tight. If it's going to be Joshua Williams or Jalen Watson out there, level of physicality, I feel good about Keon Coleman. But obviously, we saw we saw Amari Cooper be able to take advantage of Najee Johnson in that case. So the way the matchups are going to work out is going to be fascinating to me. I think that if it were me, I'd put Trent McDuffie on Khalil Shakir just to have him on there, on a consistent basis and deal with the outside guys and have a cap over the top in those true drop back situations. But I feel like there are going to be a lot of opportunities in this game where it feels like you guys maybe are getting some going on the ground. We're going to have to put some extra bodies in the box and trust these guys one-on-one in the outside to be able to deal with them. And obviously Amari Cooper is somebody that's going to be, heavily targeted from that perspective on you guys. And whether that's 2 wide receivers out there or 3 wide receivers, I do hope that we see mostly Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson guarding those guys, because those are the guys that we really trust in man-to-man coverage situations, which Spags likes to play as well. So lastly, to talk about which I think has been the most underrated aspect of your entire team, the entirety of the season, how good this offensive line has played. We've seen obviously Spencer Brown, Deion Dawkins on each side of the line as the bookend tackles be excellent, physical in the run game, be able to move guys. Science Torrance has really come into his own as far as the guard position is concerned. You guys have gotten good play from the interior, so. Obviously, our pass rush is always going to start with Chris Jones, and we like to move him up and down the up and down the line to be able to create some of those mismatches. We put him on the right tackle versus you guys, who was a backup in the first matchup. Obviously, it's going to be Spencer Brown in this one. We have Charles Omenihu, we have George Karlaftis. We've got guys that we like to throw in and try and move them for those certain circumstances. And really, it's really only going to come into play when we have the opportunity to actually get you guys in these. So we have to stop the run to begin with, and that includes Tershar Ward on the interior, but. My question is your level of confidence as far as this offensive line coming off of what was a good performance versus the Ravens, being able to keep Josh Allen nice and protected in their pocket and be able to attack as well down the field.
Yeah, 100%. If you were to ask the majority of Bills fans kind of what are we most confident in, and it would be our offensive line. They never really seem to be like, there never seems to be like a miscommunication. Obviously it's happened, but it seems tough to have those kind of stunts and things that the D line will do. It seems tough to have that work on them. They're very, I don't know what they know their job and they know what they're doing and they do it well. And so, yeah, I think we have a ton of confidence in our offensive line, but also. Part of the O-line success is having Josh Allen as your quarterback. He's one of the better quarterbacks at avoiding a sack, breaking a tackle kind of within the pocket even, and extending plays out, which is kind of why or part of the reason why our sack totals this year was lower than or the lowest it's been. But yeah, they just are really true to their task and they communicate well, and it's all led by Deion Dawkins, who is a Bills Mafia legend. So yeah, we're if there's a matchup that or a position group that we feel the most confident in, it's the O-line for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys should. Again, that group has played extremely well. And I'm glad that you mentioned specifically the communication aspect of it, because when you're facing Spags, you have to be on point. And we took full advantage of it versus the Texans. We got George Karlaftis on a tight end on a consistent basis, created those one-on-one matchups for guys to be effective against it, to get CJ Stroud under pressure on a consistent basis. You guys have been really good from a communication aspect. You guys have to pass these things off well. One thing that I do like to mention as far as being able to affect Josh Allen in this game moving forward, in that first game, we didn't really do much that was creative. We didn't necessarily spy, and I think there are going to be opportunities in which we use Jaden Hicks or Leo Chanel to try and be that Josh Allen spy, because you need somebody that's obviously big enough to get him down, but athletic enough to stick with him. But I want to see a little bit more of those late loopers, some of those stunts and twists to try and invite Josh Allen into stepping up in the pocket, drop his eyes, and then maybe be able to have him run into some pressure too. So I'm interested to see what the pass rush plan is, how he uses Chris Jones as that chess piece, but most importantly, some of the creative wrinkles that he brings to the table in this game. In that matchup versus the Texans, they were having success. They were kind of moving the ball on a consistent basis, and then Spags dialed up the heat as far as the second half is concerned. I want to see what the changeups are going to be to try and get after Josh Allen in this specific matchup. Anything you want to mention as far as the Bills offense versus Chiefs defense before we go ahead and move on?
One thing, it kind of connects to both teams too. I mean, it's fun going, do you like wide receiver and looking through the whole entire matchup and the whole game plan and everything. But when it comes to these two teams in particular, I think the biggest thing is the unknowns. And we saw it in the Chiefs-Texan game. You can dial up the right defensive play, get the pressure, get the sack, and right before you actually get the sack, Mahomes throws a touchdown pass to Travis Kelce, who you thought was covered the whole play. So it's really, I think this game is really going to come down to who can make more of those out of the box plays, because we know they're coming, and we just don't know who is going to be more successful doing it. I love the matchups, and I love talking about positionally what each side can do, but you have more fun, I feel like, watching when it's the Sandlot style football, and it's Patrick Mahomes running around and still just trying to play some backyard football. So that's the one thing that I look forward to about this matchup in general.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that both of these quarterbacks can put that cape on and create a play that you've never necessarily seen before, whether it's, you said, Patrick Mahomes, falling down and throwing to a wide open Travis Kelce, or, Josh Allen getting to that sideline and be able to kind of make that last second throw down the field as well, which we also saw, those are the things that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes could do that are special. And it really only happens when you have aliens out there playing. And it's fun to see both those guys when they get into that mode where they're trying to create something from that perspective. And look, it's going to be interesting to see, who maybe gets put in that position first as far as outside their comfort zone and has to create some of those plays as well. We saw obviously last year in the playoffs, Josh Allen started out with that lateral, on the first drive to go ahead and keep the drive alive and get those points as well. So it's, who can make those plays is going to be a massive piece of it. And we got two quarterbacks that certainly can do it as well. So real quick, I'll start out as far as a guy that I'm excited to see for the Chiefs defense, a guy that a little bit concerns me from that aspect. A guy that I'm excited to see is Charles Omenihu. I think that people are going to talk about Jalen Watson. He's going to help out as far as matchups are concerned, feeling a little bit better as far as the man coverage aspect of it. But Charles Omenihu playing in this game when he didn't in the first game gives a little bit more size and length, and I think that'll help versus the run game. He's better at that than a Malik Herring or Mike Dana, guys that got a little bit of time there, even Felix and Duke Azoma as well in that first game. And he brings that extra pass rush juice. Right now, he really is our second best pass rusher. So creating mismatches because he has the ability to go in the inside, I think, is incredibly important as well. Being able to get that quick pressure on Josh Allen and be covered by the way that you're able to have pass rush lane discipline on the back end is going to be massive as well, to make sure you can hem him in and then also affect him on that standpoint. Guy that concerns me, and it's kind of a twofer here. It's Shamari Connor and Najee Johnson because of the way that the Bills have picked on these guys. And it's not necessarily that they're bad players, but I think that there are some aspects that they're misused players. And the amount of times in which they are one-on-one with wide receivers, like they're going to be picked on. The amount of times that Shamari Connor's in the slot and he's one-on-one with a tight end, probably he's going to be picked on too. So if you can stay out of those disadvantageous situations, then I'll breathe a little bit easier. But I know that Josh Allen is going to see those and try and take advantage of those matchups if they're giving them to him as well. So I'll see what Spags does from that perspective to see how often, if ever, he puts those guys in those positions too. So Ben, hit me with the guy as far as the Bills offense that you feel like you're excited to see, and one guy that maybe is a little bit of a point of concern.
So I think, like I just said, I'm excited to watch Josh Allen play. I'm excited to see how, like you said many times here, like Steve Spagnuolo is the guy that that is the unknown for us, and we know that he's going to surprise us with a blitz package that is very well disguised, and he's going to try some different things with the defensive line, and he's going to hide coverages, and you won't know what kind of defense is out there. So I'm excited to see how Josh Allen can read that pre-snap and then kind of how he adjusts a post-snap, and kind of watch how he progresses kind of through the game. And we're all season long, we've been really good at making adjustments. So I'd be excited to see kind of how we look also in the coming out in the second half after we've seen kind of what you guys are up to and our game plan moving forward. So for sure, for me, it's Josh Allen on the offensive side. A guy I'm a little bit concerned with, I'll say, is Dalton Kincaid. Like I said before, we're going to be running the ball a lot. I'm a little bit concerned about his run blocking. I'm a little bit concerned about he hasn't really put up the kind of the numbers that we were expecting. He hasn't really been featured as much as we've been expecting. So I'm just kind of I don't have a lot of faith in him this year. So that'd be the guy that I got probably some question marks around, and kind of seeing, this is supposed to be your time to show up here. So let's see what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, like I said, if there was those mismatches present themselves as far as the side are concerned, and using Dalton Kincaid as well, I understand why Josh Allen is going to be able to go out there and try and target him as well. So as far as best bets for this game, man, I kind of hinted at it. I think that there are going to be some opportunities to try and use Travis Kelce's attention that he is going to get from the Buffalo Bills against you guys, specifically at some of those zone looks as well. So DeAndre Hopkins, I know he was extremely quiet in the last game, and I understand why people may be off of him a little bit, but I do think that this is a chance for him to kind of leave his mark and make kind of a playoff impact as far as that's concerned as well. They only got him at 2.5 receptions. I think he catches 3 balls, and I think they're 3 pretty important receptions as well. And then the other one, they have total yards for Noah Gray at 17.5. I think, again, middle of the field, using the attention that Travis Kelce is going to get against you guys. Those are the 2 guys that I'm keying in on from our offensive side for my best bets as well. So, Ben, go ahead and hit me with your best bets for this AFC Championship game.
So I have a couple here for you. One of them I took Allen. The line for Josh Allen rushing attempts was 9.5. So I'm taking the over on that one. I think we're going to have a lot of. I think Josh Allen is going to be pretty active in the running game. So I took the over on 9.5 rushing attempts. I also took Noah Gray. Based on the odds, it was plus 550 for a Noah Gray anytime touchdown. So I took that one. And then I have an interesting one here for you. It's kind of, it's one of those funny ones, but it's at plus 10,000. Okay. Each team to get a rushing and a receiving touchdown each half. So I feel like it's doable, and it's also paying out 10,000. So it's at plus 10,000. So I like the odds on that one at least.
I don't mind that at all. I think that this is going to be a chance for both these teams to put some points on the board. I think that both of these teams are going to want to attack in both ways. I know that when we get in close, we're going to use Kareem Hunt as well. I know when you guys get in close, you guys are going to use James Cook, Ray Davis, and Josh Allen's legs to his effectiveness. So I don't mind it. I don't mind that little long shot there. I like that, man. That's a good eye right there. So look, we obviously are going to get to the game picks. We're on opposite sides of this coin flip matchup, so we're going to be picking for our guys. So hit me with your X factor as far as the Bills are concerned. You give me one for each side of the team or each side of the ball as far as who needs to play well for you guys to get out of here with the win.
Yeah, so on the defensive side, I'm going to say it's going to be Cole Bishop. I know we said we had concerns about him, but I feel like we're pretty set at what we do everywhere defensively, and it's going to kind of be how much are you guys going to be picking on him? How much is he going to be able to bounce back or respond, and how is he going to be able to play in a game of this magnitude? So he'd be my X factor defensively, and then offensively, he's a guy I don't even think we mentioned his name this whole episode. It's Curtis Samuel. He's kind of a guy who we've seen kind of come on in the past 3 games. Obviously with the big touchdown against Denver, but he's kind of a guy who, you can quote unquote get lost in a defense, and, he can make some things happen in the open field, but he's not a Amari Cooper or Khalil Shakir, kind of one of these names that or positions that everybody is going to be focusing on. And he's a guy who can kind of find a little bit of room, find a little bit of space, and then kind of make something happen. So he's my X factor for this matchup. And I think I'm obviously picking the Bills. I don't think that's going to come as a surprise to anybody, but I'm going to pick them to win, and I got them winning 27-21.
All right. I respect that, certainly. As far as my X factors on each side of the ball, look, I think that you're going to have to see one of these wide receivers step up. I think that DeAndre Hopkins has his opportunity to have a playoff moment. I think that last week versus the Texans, the usage of these guys didn't necessarily necessitate it, but I do think in this game it's going to. His physicality, I think, is going to be a little bit of trouble for any of the cornerbacks for the Buffalo Bills to deal with, and specifically over the middle of the field. I think he has the opportunity to get after it. As you guys are worried a little bit more about Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy's speed down the field and what that can kind of present. And obviously, Travis Kelce's attention and gravity in the middle of the field too. So I've made no bones about it. I think DeAndre Hopkins is the X factor as far as our offense is concerned. As far as our defense, I'm going to go with the guy that didn't end up playing in that first matchup again and go with Charles Omenihu because I think that the importance of being able to affect Josh Allen without having to send extra bodies is going to be massive, and specifically being able to be stout throughout all three downs as well. He seems to be a man on the mission. Having the ability to be good against the run in the pass is going to be massive for our defensive line in this game, going up against a really good Bills offensive line. If he comes to play and is able to affect Josh Allen a little bit, I think that really can turn the tide for us as well. Ultimately, like I said, I think there's going to be some points put up on this board. I think that both teams are going to want to possess it. I think turnovers are going to be massive if either one of these teams does make mistakes, which they haven't made in a long time as far as that's concerned. Ultimately speaking, I think the Chiefs end up winning 27-23-ish. I think that's where I'm going to end up landing. 27-23. Chiefs end up going to the Super Bowl. But, of course, this is going to be an incredibly entertaining game, an incredibly entertaining matchup. These two teams, these two quarterbacks, like we said, it was always going to be us because ultimately we're the best AFC has to offer as well. Ben, I wanted to thank you for coming on. Best of luck on Sunday. Anything you want to say before we go ahead and get on out of here, man?
No, man. I think it's we kind of alluded to it at the top of the show, but this is a massive game for both of these teams, and just kind of really excited to get into it. This is kind of a game where it doesn't feel like, at least from the Bills' perspective, we don't care about stats. We don't care about nothing. We just need the win. Josh Allen could pass for 4 yards or he could pass for 400. We don't care. We just want to get the win. We just want to get into the Super Bowl. But yeah, man, it's always a pleasure joining you. Always have fun, and go Bills.
Absolutely, man. And you're not lying. This is win by any means and move on. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate you for coming on. Always happy to talk to you, Ben, as far as this is concerned. I'm extremely excited for the AFC Championship game, the entirety of this football Sunday. Championship Sunday is always special, man. Teams are trying to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to it, man. Once again, thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for coming by and listening. And that's Mike's Marquee Matches, man. Enjoy the football. Peace out.